Welcome to the Autism Infocast. I'm Peter Clark, founder and chairman of the Autism Info Center. Our podcasts delve into every part of autism and neurodiversity, and we want to help you spread understanding, respect, and kindness for those whose lives are affected. Whether you're autistic yourself, or whether you know or care for someone who's autistic, or maybe you just come into contact with autistic people in everyday life. Either way, please feel free to check out our hundreds of articles, videos, books, and training courses at autisminfocenter.org. And I'll leave you now in the capable hands of today's hosts, Jemima and Theo. Over to you.
Welcome everyone to this podcast. Today, we're really diving into something important, looking at the material we've gathered on, understanding the experiences of autistic people, and the research we looked at. It really pushes us beyond, the usual misconceptions. This isn't about finding flaws.
No.
It's more about appreciating that there are real differences in neurotype, basically, how someone's brain is wired, how it processes everything. And maybe most importantly, learning how we can actually create a more inclusive world. So our mission here for this podcast is to pull out the key insights from the material. We want to look at common challenges autistic people face and crucially find practical, really actionable ways non-autistic people can offer support that actually helps. And we have to remember right from the get-go, autism is a spectrum.
Absolutely critical point.
Yeah, it's not just one thing. Experiences vary so widely. Every person is unique. That came through really strongly in the research.
It did. And I think what's often missed, and your notes really highlighted this, is that these challenges, they don't usually come from the person themselves. It's more often about this mismatch, a mismatch between how an autistic brain works and a world mostly set up for neurotypical ways of thinking and being. So the aim today really is to try and shift from judgment towards real empathy, seeing things from a different perspective.
Okay, so let's start with social communication and interaction. The material really prompts the question.
Yeah.
Why can just a simple chat sometimes feel, like trying to solve a puzzle for an autistic person?
Well, one thing that really stands out from the sources is how many autistic people process information, and especially language, much more literally. Think about it, the sheer cognitive load. Your notes mentioned this. Constantly having to decode idioms, sarcasm, figure out what someone really means.
Like when someone casually asks, "How are you?"
Exactly. That might not be heard as just a polite greeting. It could be taken as a genuine, literal request for a full status update. And this directness, it's a communication style, a different one. It's not meant to be rude, but it can take, a huge amount of mental energy for them.
And it's not just the words, is it? The interaction itself can be tricky. Things like the back and forth in a conversation, keeping it going, or picking up on subtle non-verbal stuff, like tiny changes in facial expression or body language, or even just the tone of voice. These cues that neurotypical people often rely on can be really hard to interpret.
Yeah, very difficult.
And that can understandably make forming relationship harder and lead to, pretty significant social anxiety.
So thinking practically, this means we can really help by just being clearer, using direct, unambiguous language.
Cutting out the hints and sarcasm, maybe.
Definitely. Avoid the hints, avoid the sarcasm, and also just being patient, giving that extra bit of time to process before expecting an answer.
That makes sense.
And the material also suggested that sometimes creating social opportunities around a shared structured interest can work really well. It provides a more comfortable setting for interaction.
Okay, moving beyond the social side, another area the material really emphasized was sensory processing differences. You used a great analogy earlier. Imagine living in a world where the volume knob is stuck on high, or where a light touch feels like, sandpaper.
Yeah.
For many autistic people, that's not just a figure of speech, it's their actual everyday reality. It sounds exhausting.
It is a powerful way to think about it because sensory information is perceived differently. And generally we see two main patterns. First, there's hypersensitivity, being oversensitive. This means everyday things many people barely notice.
Like fluorescent lights.
Exactly. Or maybe the constant background hum in an office, or strong perfumes, even certain food textures. These can feel completely overwhelming, even painful. Your research mentioned an account where office lights felt like a dentist drill. That kind of constant sensory assault leads to intense anxiety anxiety, overload, real distress. It shapes their whole day in ways others might not realize. And then sort of the flip side is hyposensitivity being undersensitive.
Okay.
Here, someone might actually seek out more intense sensations to feel, regulated or grounded. So that might look like listening to very loud music or craving really strong flavors or seeking deep pressure like tight hugs or using a weighted blanket.
So if we want to be supportive, what does the research suggest? It seems like just being mindful of the environment is key.
Absolutely. Being aware.
Thinking, is this place too loud, too bright? And maybe just asking the person about their sensory needs.
Yes, simply asking can make a huge difference. And small changes, dimming the lights if you can, turning down music, maybe not wearing that really strong perfume, these things matter.
And it's so important to understand things like noise-canceling headphones. They're not about being antisocial, are they?
Not at all. The sources were clear on this. They are essential tools for managing difficult environments. They help conserve energy, that social battery as you called it, so they can actually engage when they feel able to.
Right, preserving energy. That makes sense.
And talking about how the brain works differently, the sources also really got into executive function.
Oh, yes, the brain's management system.
Kind of, yeah. It refers to those mental skills we use for planning, organizing stuff, managing our time, starting tasks, finishing them. And for quite a few autistic people, these areas can be really challenging, and it's often something that isn't fully understood by others.
And the material gave some real-world examples, didn't it? Like finding it hard to plan out all the steps involved in cooking a meal, maybe, or tackling a big project at work.
Breaking it down.
Or difficulties with time, like judging how long something will actually take. That can be really tricky.
Very tricky.
And even just starting a task. Sometimes, even if it's something they want to do, there could be this inertia like hitting an invisible wall.
Yeah, task initiation. It's a common challenge. So the practical advice here is often about providing really clear step-by-step instructions.
Written down, maybe, or visual.
Exactly. Written or visual formats, like checklists, can be incredibly helpful, and helping to break down those big, overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Makes it less daunting.
Much less daunting. And for time management, things like visual timers or charts can be really useful supports.
That idea of planning and structure seems to connect to another point this source has covered: managing change and emotional regulation.
Yes, definitely linked.
The research often highlights a strong preference for routine and predictability among autistic people. It seems unexpected changes, even small ones, can cause a lot of distress and anxiety.
That's right. Routines often provide a crucial sense of safety and control. In a world that can feel pretty chaotic and unpredictable, routine is like an anchor.
So when that anchor gets pulled up unexpectedly,
it can be very destabilizing. And that ties into emotional regulation, too. Autistic people often feel emotions very intensely, very deeply, but they might struggle sometimes to identify exactly what they're feeling, or understand it, or know how to manage it.
And this is where meltdowns or shutdowns can happen.
Yes. When things become completely overwhelming, you might see a meltdown, which can look like an intense outward expression of distress, or a shutdown, which is more of an internal withdrawal. And it's so important to understand these are involuntary responses. It's the system being totally overloaded. It's not bad behavior or a tantrum.
Right. So in terms of support, the material suggests giving as much advance warning as possible if changes are coming up.
Predictability helps.
Using visual schedules to show what's happening can also really help create that sense of predictability.
Definitely.
And if someone is having a meltdown or shutdown, the best thing we can do is try to stay calm ourselves, make sure they're in a safe space if possible, and just reduce the demands. Less talking, less sensory input until they recover.
Exactly. Lowering the pressure, creating calm. That's key. And this leads us to another really vital point that the sources kept bringing up: co-occurring conditions.
Ah, right. Because autism often doesn't exist in isolation.
Precisely. It's estimated that something like 75%, 3/4 of autistic people, have at least one other condition alongside their autism. That adds another whole layer.
75%. Wow, that's huge. What kind of conditions are we talking about? What did the material mention most often?
Well, some of the most common ones include anxiety disorders, various types of depression, and also ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Okay.
And what's important to grasp, and your notes were good on this, is that these are separate conditions from autism. They need their own understanding and often their own specific supports or treatments. But they definitely interact with autism, sometimes making certain challenges more complex. It just adds to the picture we need to understand.
So if we try and pull all of this together, all these insights from the material, what's the bigger picture here? What does it mean for creating a more understanding world?
Well, I think
It seems the core message, repeated again and again, is that these challenges, communication differences, sensory issues, executive function difficulties, they aren't character flaws. They're not laziness or lack of trying.
absolutely not.
They are fundamentally the result of a different kind of brain, a different neurotype, interacting with a world that, well, wasn't really built with its needs in mind.
Exactly. And understanding that, really getting that, allows us to move past judgment, to shift towards empathy. It's about trying to see the unseen effort, recognize the invisible hurdles, and appreciate the unique ways people navigate the world.
And this is where simple things can make such a difference, right? Patience, understanding, being willing to make small adjustments in how we communicate or structure things.
Tiny changes can have a huge impact.
Yeah, it can help remove those barriers, allowing autistic people not just to kind of cope or get by, but to actually get the support and acceptance they need to really flourish and thrive. The sources were quite powerful on that point. So I guess the main takeaway really is that these small shifts in how we approach things, how we interact, they can genuinely make a profound difference.
They really can. And maybe that leaves us all with something to think about. How might understanding these differences change your next interaction? What one small adjustment could you maybe make to build a bit more connection, offer a bit more support?
Thanks for listening to this Autism Infocast from the AutismInfoCenter.org.
Thank you, Jemima and Theo. I'm sure we've all learned something there today. Don't forget to visit AutismInfoCenter.org to hear our other episodes, browse our library of articles, see our inspiring range of books, watch our videos about autism and neurodiversity, and find out about training courses that can help you or your organization make the world a safer, happier, and more meaningful place for us all. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please feel free to spread the word about Autism Info Center. A quick mention on your socials is always appreciated. Until next time, this is Peter Clark from AutismInfoCenter.org. Have a great day.